This skyscraper could change Miami forever. When complete, the Waldorf Astoria Miami will stand 1,049 feet tall, making it the tallest building not just in Florida, but in the entire southeastern United States. A towering stack of glass cubes set to redefine Miami's skyline. Initially projected to cost nearly $1 billion, this 100-story giant will be home to ultra-luxury condos, a 5-star hotel, and exclusive amenities. But if you're hoping to live here, you'll need deep pockets. A single unit starts at over $1 million, with penthouses reaching sky-high price tags. On paper, it's a record-breaking addition to Miami. But while construction crews have been making their way up, the city itself is slowly going down. Over the past 80 years, Miami's sea level has risen by a foot. More concerning, 8 inches of that rise happened in just the last 30 years. And experts warn that another foot is coming in the next 3 decades. That's a big problem for a supertall tower in a sinking city. As Miami's waters rise, so do the challenges. Saltwater intrusion, underground pressure, and flooding pose real risks, even on sunny days. And while future residents might enjoy rooftop pools high above the skyline, the critical infrastructure on the lower levels remains vulnerable. So, how do you build a 1,000-foot skyscraper in a city where the ground itself is changing? Can Miami's most ambitious tower battle the rising tides and stand the test of time? Let's find out. At 300 Biscayne Boulevard, the Waldorf Astoria Miami is making a bold statement. A 100-story skyscraper stacked like 9 glass cubes, reshaping the skyline with a design inspired by artists like Giacometti and Brancusi. It's a $1 billion luxury tower that promises a life of exclusivity, if you can afford it. Inside, the amenities are just as over the top as the architecture. There will be 387 luxury condominiums, 205 hotel suites, an exclusive sky lounge, and a signature restaurant spanning over 5,200 square feet. Residents will have private butlers, sky-high pool decks, personal spas, and even a separate lobby only for homeowners. For families, there's a private kids club, while adults can unwind in exclusive game rooms and high-end lounges. It's no surprise that Tony Robbins has already secured a 7,000 square foot residence with a terrace pool overlooking the ocean. But this isn't just another luxury tower. It's a massive feat of engineering rising over a city that's literally sinking. Building on Miami's soft, porous limestone means that water seeps through the ground, making deep foundations tricky. The city's high water table adds another layer of complexity. Dig a hole and water starts filling it almost immediately. Yet, despite these obstacles, the glass cubes of the Waldorf Astoria are steadily climbing. Vertical construction kicked off mid-2024, and the tower has already reached the 13th floor. So how do you build something this ambitious in a city where the ground itself fights back? The answer lies 100 feet below the surface. Unlike cities with solid bedrock, like New York's Manhattan schist or Chicago's deep clay, Miami's foundation is a different beast entirely. Here, the ground isn't rock solid, it's porous limestone, a material that soaks up water like a sponge and erodes over time. That means traditional skyscraper foundations won't cut it. Engineers had to go beyond standard pilings and instead reinforce the very ground beneath the tower. To do that, they turned to a technique called deep soil mixing, a method also used in places like Venice, Italy, where historic structures are sinking into the water. To fight back against nature's unpredictability, engineers employed a pile raft system, essentially giving the building deep roots to keep it stable. The process began with extensive soil testing, with engineers acting like dirt detectives, mapping out the safest way to anchor the tower. Then came one of the most critical phases of construction, the foundation pour. In June 2024, a historic 36-hour operation saw more than 1,400 concrete trucks arrive in steady succession, delivering over 13,500 cubic yards of concrete. Workers labored non-stop, creating a solid reinforced base designed to resist both groundwater intrusion and shifting soil. But concrete alone wasn't enough. To further stabilize the ground, engineers turned to deep soil mixing. a process where 10-foot-wide drills injected concrete directly into the wet soil, forming an impermeable soilcrete foundation stretching over 100 feet underground. This technique ensures the building won't sink or shift over time, a major concern in Miami, where structures like the Porsche Design Tower have already sunk 10 centimeters since 2017. And it's not just the ground that poses a threat. Miami is one of the most hurricane-prone cities in the world, facing winds that can exceed 150 miles per hour. Without special engineering, a supertall like the Waldorf Astoria could sway dangerously in extreme storms, or worse. The Waldorf Astoria is equipped with Miami's first-ever tuned mass dumper, a massive internal pendulum designed to counteract hurricane-force winds. The exterior features laminated impact-resistant glass, protecting the structure even if the windows shatter. The entire building follows a wind load path, directing pressure from the roof down to the ground, ensuring the structure remains steady even in Category 5 hurricanes. And then there's the ever-rising water. While the tower isn't physically elevated, its critical infrastructure is. Mechanical systems, electrical panels, and backup generators are all positioned well above FEMA's 100-year flood projections. The soilcrete foundation itself acts as a water barrier, preventing saltwater intrusion, a growing concern as rising sea levels push further inland. High-tech sensors are also embedded into the structure, constantly monitoring soil movement and foundation integrity. If the ground shifts even slightly, the system will detect it immediately, allowing engineers to take action before it becomes a major problem. All these techniques combine to make the Waldorf Astoria one of the most resilient skyscrapers Miami has ever seen. But the battle isn't over. The city's climate risks aren't slowing down, and neither is the race to engineer bigger, bolder, and more resilient towers. The question remains, is this enough to keep Miami's skyline above water? Miami's construction boom is pushing the limits of engineering, but it's also pushing the land beneath it. In nearby Sunny Isles Beach, over 70% of new buildings have sunk between 0.8 and 3 inches due to a mix of heavy construction, groundwater movement, and tidal forces. It's a slow-motion problem, but one that developers can't afford to ignore. The Waldorf Astoria is designed to resist these risks, anchoring its deep foundation into solid ground layers rather than relying on the shifting limestone above. But ensuring long-term durability in a city where saltwater eats away at structures is an ongoing challenge. That's why the tower is built with highly resistant materials designed to withstand not only corrosion, but also hurricane-force winds and storm surges. In Miami, where luxury collides with some of the toughest climate challenges on Earth, balancing comfort and resilience isn't just an option, it's a necessity. And with most units already sold to wealthy foreign investors, the tower is marketed as a high-end, safe asset, banking on Miami's appeal as a global luxury hub. But the question looms, are these billion-dollar investments future-proof or just a short-term bet? Critics argue that Miami's skyscraper boom favors ultra-wealthy buyers while ignoring the city's affordable housing crisis. On forums like Reddit, discussions paint these developments as sky-high safety deposit boxes, built more for investors than for long-term local residents. At the same time, Miami's real estate market is caught in a paradox. On one hand, rising construction costs and stricter building codes make new developments more expensive than ever. On the other, worsening environmental risks could eventually drive property values down. Unlike Rotterdam or Singapore, which have vertical retreat policies to gradually move buildings away from flood zones, Miami has no such plan. Instead, it continues building higher and denser, even as the ground beneath slowly weakens. No matter how tall or well-engineered, can a building outrun the ocean? Only time or the tide will tell. Like this breakdown? Hit that like button, subscribe for more Megabuild stories, and follow Megabuilds to stay updated on the world's most ambitious constructions.